Welcome back. One final point before we go tonight. What the mainstream media was too afraid to tell you about the news this week. This week, while the mainstream media obsessed about President Trump's tweets, per usual, here are the things that happened that really matter. A tiny tidbit in former FBI Director James Comey's book reveals what really happened in Ferguson, Missouri in the shooting of Michael Brown, the one that caused riots, a media firestorm, and the birth of the Black Lives Matter movement and the hands up, don't shoot narrative. James Comey writes, and I quote here, "There was reliable evidence that Michael Brown was not surrendering when he was shot, and there was DNA evidence that he was assaulting the officer and tried to take his gun." But did the mainstream media tell you about this, as they fawned over Comey's insults to President Trump in Comey's book? Oh no, the media wouldn't touch this revelation because it debunks the entire premise of the Black Lives Matter movement and exposes hands up, don't shoot as a lie. New FEC filings show evidence that the Hillary Clinton campaign laundered $84 million illegally during the 2016 presidential election season. The way Hillary did it was having bundlers donate large sums of money all at once to the DNC, local and state Democratic parties, and her campaign, which in and of itself is legal. But then, instead of dividing the money and giving the state Democratic parties control of their share, she funneled it illegally directly to the DNC and then to her campaign. A scheme which the Supreme Court has said in the past is very, very illegal. But did the mainstream media report on this bombshell law-breaking activity? Oh no, they didn't. Hillary lost, the Clintons are out of office, but still the mainstream media is too afraid to say anything negative about the Clintons. The New York Times published a correction, some are calling it the correction of the year, after they claimed in an article that the Palestinian Authority's pay-to-slay program, a program where the Palestinian government pays terrorists to kill Israelis or Americans, the more gruesome the crime, the higher the paycheck. The New York Times claimed this pay-to-slay program was a right-wing conspiracy, but it's not. And the New York Times was forced to retract their falsehood and issue a correction. Yet the mainstream media didn't even report on this because it makes them look like the biased liars they are. Democratic Senator and self-avowed socialist Bernie Sanders is proposing a federal jobs program where every person who wants a job is guaranteed a government job at $15 an hour plus health care benefits. It's a dumb idea, but what makes it even worse is Senator Sanders won't even say how much the program would cost us, the taxpayers. Funny how the mainstream media will report on the jobs program itself, but doesn't even care about the truth enough to ask Senator Sanders about the cost. In Parkland, Florida, Broward County deputies voted no confidence in Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel. The vote was 534 to 94. That's less than 15% of Sheriff Israel's deputies who have confidence in his leadership, and no wonder. After his support of diversionary policies that helped enable Parkland school shooter Nicholas Cruz to slip through the cracks, after Sheriff Israel took no responsibility for the deputy at the school at the time who refused to enter the building and stop the shooter, and after the sheriff slammed law-abiding gun owners at the CNN town hall, even though he knew his department had messed up, and that was part of the reason Nicholas Cruz was able to wage his attack. Now, after the vote of no confidence, the sheriff's deputies will present their vote to Florida Governor Rick Scott and advise the governor to remove Sheriff Israel from his position. The mainstream media doesn't care to report any of that to you, so we will. And that is my final point. You can reach me on Twitter at Liz_Wheeler. If you liked the show, please send me an email at oann.com/contact. In the meantime, catch us here tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern, and until then, have a good night.